What's up, guys? It's Ben with 2020 election predictions, and today I'm going to be doing a hypothetical matchup between Mike Pence and Joe Biden if Donald Trump were to drop out. And I just want to say before the video that the circumstances of Donald Trump's dropout, whether he was forced out by the Republican Party, or he was impeached and removed from office, or he voluntarily dropped out, or he had some illness where or he passed away. There's a lot of circumstances that would surround this that would affect the outcome a lot. But this is kind of where the map that I would see that as it is right now between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, or between Joe Biden and Mike Pence if Donald Trump were to drop out and his vice president, Mike Pence, would replace him as the sitting president. So, as you can see right here, I have all the safe states. Then I have Virginia, Colorado, and New Mexico as likely states. These have been trending leftward for a while. And the only likely Republican state I have is Montana. I think with the Senate race there with Steve Bullock and Steve Daines on the ticket, this would be a lot closer on the presidential level. And I think that Mike Pence is not um, as charismatic as a candidate and would not be able to appeal of the people of Montana. And the people of Montana have demonstrated that they have voted for Democrats on the Senate level and on the governor's level. And in 2008, it was fairly close when Obama was on the ticket. So, diving right in, let's look at the lean Democratic states first. I think that New Mexico or Nevada would be a lean Democratic state. I think that Nevada does have a large Christian population, and I think that it kind of spills over from Utah. Some of the Mormons live in Nevada, and I think that Mike Pence could be able to appeal maybe a little bit better than Donald Trump, but still Nevada is trending leftwards, and it has been for a while. Donald Trump lost the state in 2016. I do not expect Mike Pence to be able to pick this state back up in 2020. I think that Michigan would be a lean Democratic state. It could potentially even be a likely Democratic state. I just do not think that Mike Pence has the same appeal in the Rust Belt as Donald Trump could. Again, the circumstances matter a lot because if Donald Trump were forced out of office by maybe the Democrats or some exterior force, Trump supporters could be even more energized to vote for him if they feel like something unjust happened to him. And Mike Pence could be their man. But still, I just see Joe Biden as being a presidential candidate that could appeal more to the white working class in Michigan. Um, Maybe some of these people voted for Donald Trump in 2012, or voted for Obama in 2012, voted for Trump in 2016. I could see them coming back to Biden in 2020 and passing on Mike Pence like they passed on Mitt Romney in 2012. I think that Mitt Romney and Mike Pence are actually very similar in some respects. Anyway, moving on, I think that New Hampshire and Maine are both lean Democratic states. Well, I think that Mike Pence might be able to make some inroads on some voters who didn't vote for Trump in 2016. Um, you saw this because the Senate candidate in New Hampshire outperformed Donald Trump in 2016. I still think that the anti Trump animosity that is very prevalent in New Hampshire, he was underwater by 25 points there, would kind of uh, boil over to Mike Pence. I think they're associated a lot, and Mike Pence has defended Trump a lot. And some anti Trump Republican voters who maybe voted for Trump in 2016 just because they liked Mike Pence and trusted Mike Pence have now said that Mike Pence's brand is soiled, and that they think he's a hypocrite. I've heard that from some people who don't love Donald Trump but are Republicans who like Mike Pence because they trust him and like him. Okay, so anyway, now going to the lean Republican states, I do think that Iowa would be a lean Republican state. I think that Donald Trump would do better in the state of Iowa, but it's just trending uh, towards the Republicans overall, whoever the Republican nominee is. And I think that Mike Pence would still have a lot of the same messages that Donald Trump did in 2016. He would still have the populist appeal. He would not be completely free trade. He would try to be tough on the border. He would continue to build the wall. I I think that Mike Pence, even if Donald Trump were to pass away and weren't even to like be there to maybe critique Mike Pence, that Mike Pence would still kind of follow the brand that worked and made him vice president in 2016. And a similar situation in Ohio, it's pretty close to Indiana where he was governor. And I've seen in some polls that Mike Pence is actually more popular in the state of Indiana than Donald Trump is, even though Mike Pence, when he was governor of Indiana, was not super popular at the time. And it was fairly close in the elections. And in the 2016 governor's elections, the Democrats even won. And some people attribute that to Mike Pence. However, now Mike Pence is relatively popular in Indiana, and statewide, or on the national level, Indiana tends to vote for the Republicans in pretty strong numbers. Next up is Texas. I think that Mike Pence would be able to appeal in Texas a lot better than Donald Trump, actually, in terms of appealing kind of to the Christian family values type of voters in Texas, which there are a lot. I think Mike Pence could appeal to the Hispanic voters who um, tend to like take their faith very seriously. Um, uh, Mike Pence, he's a very uh, notable Christian. He like tweets a lot of like Christian things, very like prominently pro life, and I think that he kind of lives out as best as he can what he tries to preach, even though that has come in conflict. I think sometimes when he has to defend Donald Trump and people on the left have been quick to criticize him on that. However, I think that Mike Pence would be able to win in Texas like Ted Cruz did in 2018. And I think in the presidential year against Joe Biden, that Mike Pence could do better than Ted Cruz, even if it's a little lower than how Donald Trump did in 2016. Um, Next up in Georgia, I think pretty similar to Texas, it's part of the Bible Belt. I think that Mike Pence could win all the voters that Brian Kemp won in 2018 and some more. Georgia is trending towards the left, but I still think Mike Pence could win the state between 2 and 5 points, just like similar margins to how he would win Texas. Um, Next up, going to the tilt states. I'm going to the tilt Republican states first. I think that North Carolina would tilt towards the Republicans. North Carolina still, I think, is part of the solid South, even though it's demonstrated that it can swing. It voted for Obama once and voted for Mitt Romney once. So it voted against Obama once. I think that Mike Pence could be able to appeal maybe to some of the disaffected Republicans who don't like Trump as much. Um, there is a strong Trump base in North Carolina that Donald Trump rode to his 3.5 point victory in North Carolina. But I do think that Mike Pence could be able to thread the needle and consolidate the Trump base with maybe some disaffected uh, Republicans and win the state of North Carolina. Next up is the state of Wisconsin. Um, while I think that excuse me. While I think that the rest of the Rust Belt tilts Democratic, I think that Wisconsin is a notable exception. It voted for Scott Walker. I think Mike Pence is very similar in the same vein as Scott Walker. And Scott Walker lost very narrowly in 2018, but had that been a presidential election year, I think that he would have been able to keep the seat. I think that Mike Pence could keep some of the populist appeal that Donald Trump rode to victory in the Rust Belt in 2016. I think he could very narrowly keep Wisconsin. And the polls demonstrate that Wisconsin is very different from Minnesota, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And the last state that I think that Donald Trump could win in, or that Mike Pence could win in 2020 is the state of Florida. I think that Donald Trump has been turning off a lot of old voters, maybe with his coronavirus, his response to that. But I think that Mike Pence could ride the same energy that elected Ron DeSantis and Rick Scott to the governor and Senate respectively. in 2018. I think that Mike Pence could consolidate those older voters, which there are a lot of in Florida. In fact, a lot of older voters are moving towards Florida when they retire. I expect Mike Pence would do a lot, would do marginally better than Donald Trump would in Florida. And I just think that he could win it. So, lastly, moving on to the Democratic states, I think that Pennsylvania could even be a lean Democratic state. I don't think that Mike Pence will be able to have the same appeal that Donald Trump did in Pennsylvania in the rural areas. In fact, I'm almost inclined to put this in the lean Democratic column just because Joe Biden is from Pennsylvania. I think he can be able to connect to these voters that someone like Donald Trump would not be able to. Lastly, in the state of Arizona, which would decide the election if it were a Mike Pence versus Joe Biden matchup, I do think that Joe Biden would take the state very narrowly. It is trending leftwards. And in 2024 and 2028, I feel a lot more confident calling this for the Democrats, even though I don't know the nominees, just because of how rapidly the demographics are changing. I do think Mike Pence would still have a shot in a state like Arizona, especially with more of the Hispanic populations. But right now, just looking at the polls, I think that with Mark Kelly on the Senate ticket, that Joe Biden would very narrowly win the state. And lastly, I just want to go to my YouTube channel and just show y'all. So right now I'm hovering around 700 subscribers. I would just encourage y'all to hit the subscribe button if you have not already. Um, I'm on the road to 1,000. Also, just like my videos and watch my old ones if you haven't already. So thank y'all for watching. Y'all been pretty loyal fans, and I'll see you in a video tomorrow.